Huh. A big moment in history. Yes, I agree. Greetings, our Frederick Riddle here with another episode of Christian News and Views. This is episode 52. And there's different things in the paper today that are of interest. Uh, Arctic air coming down our way. It is a little chilly outside, but up north it's a whole lot worse. But we're feeling some of the effects even down here, and so that's news. But I'm not going to talk about that. What I want to talk about is something that I think that actually the title of the article called it "A Big Moment in History," and not much of an article I want to actually quote. Um, but basically, Trump is the one that came up with the title. He said in a Monday Post that Congress was certifying a great election victory and called it a big moment in history. Now, the only parts that they quoted there, and I have not seen the actual quote, but they have in quotes the word great and a big moment in history. And so I didn't see the whole quote, but I've been following Trump for a few years, and I think I know that he's not talking about what they're talking about. They relate it to January 6th. It's their false narrative that they have going, and they're going to stick with it. But I have my own opinions as to why it was a great moment. And I want to explore that a little bit with you because I'm looking at this from a Christian point of view. I'm also looking at this from a common man's point of view. I'm a simple man, simple needs. Uh, uh, God has blessed me in many, many ways, and I think He's going to bless me even more, hopefully, prayerfully. But the thing is that I would certainly hope I would never change. I'll still be a common person, a common man. I think that is actually a good place to be because some people when they get rich, they get a big head. They get a bad attitude for people. They do things. They'll say things to to hurt, to manipulate, to whatever. So I hope I don't ever become that. But the big moment. Well, here's one reason why I think of the big moment. It brings hope. Hope back to Americans. I'm going to get into more of that as we go, but in general, there's more of a sense of hope. Amongst the Christian community, there is hope. We're not looking at him as some kind of God. It's because he's not God, and because he will step aside and let God do his thing. Government has a tendency to want to either tell God to get out of the way, and he's not going to, or they tell him to sit down, he's not going to, or they try to ignore him, and he's not going to let them. So, and by he, I'm referring to God himself. Uh, so, the first thing is he brings hope back. He did that his first term, actually. He brought hope. Hope and change, as I think, may have been his. Uh, well, that may have actually been the previous president's concept, hope and change, but it was the wrong kind of change. But he brought genuine hope, uh, and he proved it over and over and over again. The media, they don't like him, and they will twist the truth to to actually depress people. They don't care about the common person. What they care about is their agenda. Moving on. It is also big because he brings a record of success. Again, the media tries to twist things out. They want us to take their interpretation of the facts uh, and they're of the twisted facts actually, and take that and just say, oh, he was terrible as a president. No, he was very, very good. I can remember when I lived, he was president, that he did things like the tax break. The media will have you believe that only rich benefited. No, I wasn't rich. You wouldn't consider me rich today. But the thing is that uh, the dollar went further, and it wasn't all him. But even the Democrats, though they fought him, he was able to quite often get his way, and he did things that they just couldn't stop because they didn't have the power or whatever. So he brought a record of success. Just look at it. He one of the things he did was NATO. He got NATO to step up, and NATO has stepped up big time. Now, in fact, during the Biden administration, where they did nothing, basically, NATO is the one that took the lead in many cases over in Ukraine and in other situations, and that just goes to show you that they got stronger, not because of Biden doing nothing, but because Trump put the pressure on them, and once that pressure, you might say, popped the cork, then they started really stepping up in many different ways. So he brings hope, and he brings a record of success. Another thing he brings is big, is because he brings renewed confidence in our Constitution. Now the Democrats love to talk about the Constitution, but if you look at what they say about the Constitution and you look at the Constitution, two different uh, two different things, two different ideas, two different concepts. They're not the same. The Constitution, our forefathers um, worked on and developed and passed, and it became that, along with the Declaration of Independence, became our founding documents. Declaration of Independence established our government, and the Constitution became the undergirding, the basis of what all law and everything else was to be. The government, everything was to be based on. And so they have their own idea. They change the Constitution in their own minds to match whatever agenda they have. So there's two different constitutions. But he's brought a renewed confidence in the Constitution the United States was founded on. That's a big deal. Uh, the Under Biden, the government used different branches to go after Trump because they call it a threat to democracy. Actually, he was a threat to democratic rule. that's really the truth of the matter. And because of that, they would bring up false charges um, on the flimsiest of evidence, if it was even evidence. Uh, they uh, they constantly made accusations against him and everything. And this is what's so amusing about this, is before he ever stepped on the political stage and said, I'm going to run for president the first time around, they, as well as the Republicans, were coming to him to get his approval. When they were running for office, they wanted his backing. They wanted basically his money, but they also wanted his name. And so, but the moment he declared himself to run for the Republican nomination, all of a sudden he became a pariah. All of a sudden he became the enemy of the people. No, he became the enemy of the Democratic Party. So he brought hope, he brought success, he brought renewed confidence in our Constitution. It is also big because he will get government out of the way of Christians trying to worship God as the Bible directs. Now, this is very personal to me as a Christian, and I would assume it's big to you as well, because the current government we have, the Biden government, embraced everything other than Christianity. Uh, as some of the so-called religions, and I call them so-called because there's only one true religion, and that's Christianity. But all these other religions out there, uh, they have nice sayings, and they'll quote nice sayings and so forth like that. But their impact on the world, their impact on people, upon government policy, and things of this nature, pretty much non-existent. They have had impact. I won't deny that, but not an impact for good. That's why I probably should clarify that. Their impact has not been for good. It's been for bad. In fact, we have seen in the last 4 years, it's been going on for a lot longer than that, but it really got magnified, and that is they took biblical concepts that were said, this is good, and they said, no, this is evil. The Bible says, this is evil, and they changed, no, this is good. And so the Bible actually predicted that would happen. Hopefully we can get back to looking at what is good, really good, and what is really bad. And part of that is being able to worship God as the Bible directs. That's not talking about them going out and committing crimes or anything like that. It means they simply are free to worship God. Now, in our history, there's a thing called the wall of separation. The left has taken that and completely reversed it from what it originally meant. And it got to our courts and everywhere. It never meant, when President Jefferson established it, I don't think he ever called it that. He did in his letter. He wrote a private letter, not a government letter, but a letter. Some Baptists had written him a letter. He responded, and he called it a wall of separation between the government and the church. He was not saying to keep the church out of government. He was talking about keeping the government out of the church. You got to remember a little bit of history. In the past, government and church were one. Even in England, to be able to do a lot of things, you had to be a member of the Church of England, which was under the control, whether it be outright or under the table, however that control worked, but it was under the control of the church. You looked at other countries, the same thing. The government was under control. Now, there may be reasons for why that took place, but but those reasons were never biblical. It's not right. The church stands alone under the rule of God, and not of government and not of man, but under God. And that's the way it should be. And so we as Christians who we believe the Bible, we trust the Bible, and we take the Word of God and apply it to our lives. That's what we're free to do, and we've had to fight for that. The more so when it was before Trump came into office. During it still continued, but it really cleared up a lot during his term in office, and then when Biden came in, it returned back to the former mode, which was to suppress Christianity's, your freedom to worship, your freedom to make decisions, and so forth, and you had to be fit into a certain mold. This goes along with another thought of why it is big, because he will get government out of the way of Christians running their businesses. So not only our personal lives, but our government. For instance, I have a business. I'm a businessman. And government really tries to bear down on Christians. You've read the headlines of Christians who, because of this biblical beliefs, would not serve different certain groups of people. And it's biblical. It's right. It's moral. Because when people practice immorality, we as Christians are not to have anything to do with that. We're to back off. We can witness to them. We can be friendly to them in that sense. but we don't allow them to run our lives or to bring us into their sin, which is what has been going on. And so, but the American people saw the effects of that and said, whoa. So now they've turned to Trump because they know he will get government out of the way and Christians will begin running their businesses according to the Word of God. It is also big because he brings firmness back to our foreign policies. I don't know if you remember it or not, but I do, and of course the press has their own version of it. They say that the people over in other countries laughed at him behind his back. They didn't laugh very much. They actually bent. They were angry, yes. They were frustrated, yes. They felt that he was a bully, yes. And by the way, those are all good things because they were going down the road that America's been lately been going down, but they've been going down a lot longer. A liberal trend, giving rights to people for of all different types of persuasions, and I'm not going to go into that today. But the thing is that in this case, they were not doing their fair share of supporting NATO. More of a lip service. There were some things that they were doing, but they just the minimum, the minimum they could get by with. He forced them to step up, and so and so they have. And by the way, I would say they stepped up big time because they had, in the case of Ukraine, the United States supported Ukraine, but basically it was, I would call it, in my opinion, it's a lie. The term I use is they slow walked. They would say, okay, we're going to send you some tanks. They slow walked them over. They could have gotten them over sooner, but they didn't. Why? Because they don't want Ukraine to be victorious. They want Ukraine. They want a stalemate. They want Russia and Ukraine to the focus to be there and to be a stalemate. That's their idea of a victory. And so they slow walked everything. Now some people on the conservative side have said, do away, we're wasting money on Ukraine. Well, we are spending a lot of money on Ukraine. And because of this slow walk. And we're sending things that get to Ukraine after Ukraine has already suffered some major losses, not only of land, but of men, of soldiers, maybe even some women. Actually, they've lost a lot of women because they've been beaten, they've been raped, and they've been murdered. But the thing is, if we'd gotten those weapons over sooner, they would have made a bigger difference. And this war might be history by now. And so he brings firmness back. What is he going to do as far as Ukraine? I don't know, but I suspect he's going to have a big surprise for Putin and for some Americans. Putin's not going to be happy with it. Let me just say that. That's my opinion. I don't have inside track with the Trump campaign or anything like that. But I just believe that he's going to bring firmness back to our foreign policies. It is also big because he knows how to use the big stick of diplomacy and military might. That goes together with foreign policy. Some of the other things that he did, treaties that we had, both the Pacific Treaty, actually he had, there was the different treaties. He has I forget the name of it, treaty here in America. I don't know if it was called Pan American but anyhow, it involved Canada, United States, and Mexico. And he took that treaty, reworked it, and now all three are benefiting from that treaty, not just 2 out of 3. But guess who was not benefiting out of it before? The United States. So now all 3 are benefiting from it, from that revision. The Pacific Treaty, I believe that, well, that is something that the Biden administration, although the treaty's still intact, they have not really, really pushed it. So I don't know that we've ever really benefited from it that much because we have an administration that doesn't take advantage of things like that. But under Trump, we will see that there are some issues there. You have, of course, Taiwan, China itself. You have Japan has issues that need to be addressed. There's Philippines. There's just they need a strong uh, United States, not to tell them how to do things. Maybe it's just to support them, to be alongside them, to that somebody that they can trust. Do they trust the current administration? I don't think so. They haven't had much reason to do so. Uh, Even Israel, Biden has supported Israel. Again, uh, has he really done a good job of doing it? Our Navy and our has gone over there, and they have fought, and they are doing their best under the circumstances. But how much freedom do they have to do what they need to do? How much freedom of control? How much action can they take locally to make sure that freedom reigns uh, in those areas, and that Israel in particular is protected. Protected. It is also big because he understands that if businesses, even big businesses, succeed, then Americans will do better. It's just simple. They call it trickle down economics, but it's a truth. When somebody up here has is big, they they uh, they have employees. Most of them, these big companies, they have a lot of employees, and guess what? Those employees get pay raises. Some of them will get portion. Uh, they will get percentage, a small percentage of the profits of the business and stuff like this. All sorts of benefits that come their way. That's good news. That helps them because then those people go out, they spend more and buy more. They may even buy the products that their company produces, and so it goes like that, and it does trickle down. In economics has always worked. The Democrats. One of the things was when Reagan was in office, he got some laws passed that were good, solid laws. But before they ever took place, the Democrats, I think, were turned into power or had more power anyhow in the Congress, and they started making laws that really chipped at that, so that it didn't achieve everything that it could have achieved, simply because they got in the way. Government getting in the way again. And so they've done this where they know how to dress it up, make it look good. They'll if they were to respond to me on this, they would say, "Oh, you got it wrong," and then they'd go through all their stuff, and some of it made up, some of it partially true, uh, very little of it all completely true. But he understands business, and he understands big business, and he understands. Another thing that he understands that makes this whole thing a big moment is he has an understanding of the common man, although he is rich and powerful. Now, I'm a common man. Uh, I, my education, I'm not a college graduate. I got, I got a little bit of college. I got 1 year of college, and then I had some additional training and things of this nature. And some of my training has been on my own. But the thing is that uh, I've had to learn, and one of the reasons for not being able to finish college, I didn't have the money to do so. I don't want to have to take out a loan, and I certainly would not have been impressed with Biden's loan repayment plan. That never was a good idea, and even the Supreme Court even understood that. So, but Trump understands the common man, and he is that's even though he's a very rich man, a very powerful man, he has that understanding. That's a rare quality to get those two things together, and we now are going to benefit from that. So that is my opinion of the big moment. So just real quick through that. He brings hope. He brings success. He brings renewed confidence in our Constitution. He'll get government out of the way of Christians worshiping. He'll get big government out of the way of Christians doing business. He brings firmness back to our foreign policy. He knows how to use the big stick of diplomacy and military might. He understands that if business succeeds, so do Americans. He understands America, the common man, even though he's rich and powerful. And so that is my opinion as to the big moment. Now, before we shut down here, I want to go to a side note that's in the paper. And this this is here. Here we go. Let's see if you can see this. McDonald's latest to roll back diversity goals. Diversity goals are synonymous pretty much these days with woke. Now, don't get mad at woke. Original woke came out of the black community and had some biblical concepts associated with it. This is not about the woke, but that's the true woke. What happened is the left somehow got control of that. I'm not sure that it ever got control of the movement itself, but at least of the name. And they turned it into something else other than it should be. And in the very McDonald's is going to change. Not only has that, they say it's a shift its tactics in the wake of the Supreme Court ruling and the conservative backlash that followed. Walmart, John Deere, Harley Davidson, and others have also rolled back diversity programs. It says over here, McDonald's said it was also paused external surveys. The Chicago burger giant didn't elaborate, but several other companies, including Lowe's and Ford Motor Company, have declined to participate in an annual survey by the Human Rights Campaign that measures workplace inclusion for LGBTQ plus employees. That's a good thing. That is a very good thing. And woke is something that I'll spend a few minutes on it here, but it comes. It's going to be returned, hopefully, to an honorable place in the black community. So it appears that American businesses are returning to their American roots and old-fashioned common sense. And basically, that's treating all of us on an equal basis, not a favored status or anything like this. Prejudice comes in all forms. It doesn't belong in the world. When God created a man, He created one race, and there is only one race, the human race. All these other races man has figured it out and made it that way. But God made one race, the human race. So all this is good news, and we just have to follow that. Now, if you like this channel, be sure to subscribe using the icon below, right below here. And what this will do by subscribing, you not only ensure that you have access to both my podcasts, Christian News and Views, and Becoming a Published Author is Fun, which is aimed at people who want to become published authors. They get free advice, free coaching from me. But you encourage me as well. That encourages me to have this, do these podcasts, encourages me in just doing the things that I'm doing and continuing forward. So I encourage you to subscribe, and I will do all in my power to create, to inform, encourage, and inspire you. And so I hope this has been informative for you. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please go ahead and subscribe. I'll see you in the next episode.